Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the video. And this movie is a spoiler-free review of Ridley Scott's newest movie, House of Gucci. When Patrizia Reggiani, an outsider from humble beginnings, marries into the Gucci family, her unbridled ambition begins to unravel the family legacy and triggers a reckless spiral of betrayal, decadence, revenge, and ultimately murder. But that's all I'm going to say without giving any spoilers away. If you guys are near and here and you do enjoy these movie reviews, trailer reactions, and all my other content on the channel, make sure to subscribe button and turn notifications on so you don't miss any time I upload a video or I go live. Both always see more time. Let's get into it. So, House of Gucci. This movie is interesting, okay? I like it, but at the same time, there's a lot of key fundamental issues with this movie that just make me not able to give it a super high score. It has me torn still. I really don't know what to think. So basically, my biggest love in this movie has to be Adam Driver and Jared Leto. Lady Gaga's cool. She's cool. She's there. But number one, she just doesn't feel like she fits in the movie. I think it's just the way she acts and like her accent and stuff like that. It just doesn't match up with everyone else's. And obviously, Jared Leto's character is the same. Once you watch the movie, you'll realize. But his character is more of an outsider, so it kind of makes sense. That's his whole character role. But Lady Gaga is meant to blend in with everyone, but she never actually does that, even though the story tells us that she is. So there's a little bit of conflict within that. But nevertheless, Adam Driver in this movie, 100% standout performance. My favorite performance in this movie. Adam Driver's been killing it this year. Another movie that's also great from him this year, or that he's in, is Ridley Scott's other movie, The Last Duel. That movie is also phenomenal. I would say The Last Duel is way better than this one, but The Last Duel is much slower. The biggest and most fundamental issue with the pacing of this movie is that the first half is really slow, but it's the most uninteresting part, so I would love to get through it a little faster. And the second act is where all of the mystery starts to unravel, where we have all of this actual betrayal and like deviance and all that kind of stuff. It's just everything starts to unravel, but it happens so slow that I get so uninterested in the story. It's really, really annoying because the first half moved so fast and everything was happening a beat after beat, beat after beat. Nothing was slowing down, and after a certain point in the movie, it just completely slowed down, and I was like, why did it slow down? We had this great pace going, we had this great story going, and then it just completely stopped, and it felt like the movie basically took its own intermission, and the movie like basically just paused, and then it started focusing on basically a whole entire different story because characters changed so much. And that's another issue with this movie that I have, is that the pacing mainly is like an issue that stems from the time gap that this movie takes place over. I think it's 5 years. It's probably more. I think it's like 5 to 7 or 5 to 9 years, something like that. It's absurd how much time this movie takes over. Obviously, it tells the story of the Gucci downfall, like the family members of Gucci and how all of that like basically falls down because of Lady Gaga's character. But nevertheless, a movie taking place over that long of a time period, that you have to really perfect the pacing. This movie did not do that at all. But nevertheless, one thing that I do think stood out from this movie due to the pacing was Jared Leto's performance, because in the first half, he wasn't really in the movie too much, but the second half, or I would even just say the main parts of the second act, he was really embellished into the plot. He was really integral to it, and I really loved his character. I don't think he's the best character. I think Maurizio Gucci, played by Adam Driver, is the best character, but I do think Jared Leto's a standout just because of how freaking hilarious he is. Another great character was played by Jeremy Irons. I forgot what character name he is, but he's also great in this movie, and so is Al Pacino. Al Pacino plays the Uncle Gucci, or basically Maurizio Gucci's uncle. He's also great in this movie, and overall, just the dynamics in this movie do work really well. Even though I don't think Lady Gaga had the best performance just because she didn't really fit in with everyone else, I would say overall this movie had great chemistry between everyone. But one thing I will say that did not disappoint at all in this movie were the visuals. You know, it's Ridley Scott. Like, we have to expect great visuals. Ridley Scott and Wes Anderson, if I'm going to watch a movie from them, the visuals better be on point, and they 100% were with this one. I thought the visuals were super interesting. The thing is, in the second act, nothing really felt that visually pleasing, but in the first act, it really did. Like, the first act really blew me away. But nevertheless, also the set design was also phenomenal in this movie. The set design really surprised me, and when we were in New York, it felt like you were in New York. When you were in Paris, it felt like you were in Paris. And overall, it just felt like it was like it tonally changed a lot which makes sense, and I really liked it. And the moments in which it did tonally change, it felt like it was like granted for it to. It didn't feel like it was randomly moving around. And like I said before, I complained about the pacing a lot in this movie. I don't mind slower movies, but one thing that really made the first act feel so slow. But the final thing I want to talk about in the spoiler-free review is basically the climax. I'm not going to obviously tell you what the climax is, but it just comes and goes. It's there and it just goes away. The climax doesn't stick with us at all. The climax is interesting, and it does feel like there's a lot of different points in which this movie could end, but obviously it has to tell a full story from beginning to end. And personally, I went into this movie not knowing anything about this story. I didn't even know who Maurizio Gucci was. I didn't know any of the stuff about the story. I still found the story interesting, but I still at the end of the day found it slightly boring, because I didn't know what was happening in the whole beginning. And then as stuff finally got revealed to us slowly, I obviously took the side of Maurizio Gucci in this entire thing that was going on, because I was new to all of this. I don't know anything beforehand, so obviously I can't have my own decision, and this movie obviously paints it as Lady Gaga coming to Maurizio Gucci. I'm kind of dancing around what the climax is, because obviously I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but if you guys are interested in watching this movie, I would recommend doing so. With that being said, I'm going to give you guys my final score here. Overall, I'd probably give Ridley Scott's House of Gucci a 3.5 out of 5. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I don't think it's one of the worst movies this year, but I still don't think it's bad by any means. But yeah, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know if you're excited for House of Gucci in the comments down below. And if you've already seen it, how did you like it? Again, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.